Welcome to Business on Purpose, the podcast for hardworking entrepreneurs who drive our economy. I'm your host, Barry Barrett, and as a sales leader and business owner, I understand the challenges that come with entrepreneurship. Each episode, I am interviewing business owners who have faced the same struggles you have. Low revenue, a lack of scalability in their sales force. Together, we're going to explore their entrepreneurial journey and uncover the valuable lessons they've learned along the way. From mentors to advice, we'll dive deep into what has helped these business owners get unstuck and move forward towards success. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned entrepreneur, the podcast is for you. Be sure and follow and subscribe to this podcast as we learn from the experiences of successful business owners and navigate the road to entrepreneurship together. Let's get started.
Hey, Barry.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
I'm glad I got to sit with you at QCE.
Oh, yeah, it was fun. Yeah,
I know. It was fun. It was fun. How's your confidence?
I think it's good. I had a nice session when I returned with one of my favorite clients, and so it just goes so much smoother when you have the right clients.
Oh, my God. What a difference. So before we start this, can you tell me a little bit about you, like what you're doing?
Yeah, I can tell you. With the podcast specifically, it is based on and built for entrepreneurs, business owners who need help or struggle or whatever that is with sales specifically. And so it's a business owners sales podcast where you hear I think there's a lot of entrepreneurial or business owner podcast. But I think for me, it is specifically designed around how do you help people understand and move through their sales challenges as a business owner. And so either individually or helping grow a sales team, right? There's two different things that you have to do in your startup phase. You have to know how to sell your product or service, right? And then as you grow, you have to learn how to build a team that does that, or you're just stuck for the rest of your life, where a lot of people are.
Totally. That's interesting. Could you tell me about you, though? What are you doing with your life, like beyond EOS? Because that must be driving this.
Sure. I have two sides to my business. If we draw it out, I have a sales training side, and then I have an EOS practice. And so how I got to be an implementer in the first place is I had a sales training business.
Really?
Yes. And then my clients who I was helping that with needed operational help, needed a system, needed structure and those types of things. One client almost put them out of business because their sales went so well that their operations could not keep up. And I just said, hey, here's a book. You can figure things out called Traction. And then I started diving in and researching and realized that you could get certified. And so I went down that path. What happened was I had a client who I was training in sales and had a good relationship with them. They trusted me, I trusted them, and he wanted to implement EOS in his business. So I'm a teacher, I'm a student, I love that kind of things. And I said, hey, if you'll pay for me to go to boot camp, I'll implement this EOS system in your business over the next couple of years. And so he wrote a check for boot camp. And then that's how I became an implementer. And then it became so powerful that I stopped training for a couple of years, 3 years in sales and just implemented. Well, in the past year, so many people have reached out about sales training through other implementers like you or clients of other implementers that are saying, hey, we need sales training. And they said to talk to you. And so that really got me re-fired up about the sales system. I have had a trainer who I delegated the sales training to. I was not personally doing it, but my company was doing it. And now he's so much more busy and training sales teams, salespeople. And we needed to build an online course, and that's what we're doing as well. So we're building a
Yeah.
digital course to have people subscribe to it so that they can train themselves, train their team, their sales team, so I don't have to show up. And
Are
so
you training EOS implementers?
I have. And so last quarter, 6 implementers got together and I trained them for 12 weeks, 12 sessions. And they've picked up clients and things like that through the sales training. So they asked me, and I gave them a cost, and they paid it. And I trained them for 12 weeks. So,
Because we just did sales training. I discovered that the way that I learn is I need a curriculum. And I love the way we teach, where you go, you do, and they repeat it.
mhm,
And he's ADD, he's all over the place. So then I downloaded the Sandler sales training, which I like much better.
yes.
So if you want somebody to give you feedback on your curriculum, having just done 2 of them, and I'm taking the exchange, I happen to be taking exchange. Do you know them? I'm in the middle of their course.
Mm-mm,
It's a facilitation course because I wanted to become a better facilitator.
mhm,
And I took Hank's, of course, but this one it's one of Sue Hawks's clients. It's pretty good. They're doing it's 3 days online, which could kill you. I'm doing
mhm,
that today. I've been doing it for the last 2 days, but they're much more like us. But they really, what they do, which I like, is they really ingrain us in the material. So they're teaching us how to facilitate online, but they're also having us be part of a facilitation. So
mm,
you live it.
mhm. Yeah, I do role playing to the max. And
Yeah,
that's
role
basically
playing
what
is
you just said, right?
Yeah, role playing is
Mhm.
beyond essential. It's
So
beyond
I can,
essential. I can't stand the way this guy is teaching it. It's driving me freaking crazy.
yeah, he's probably doing more coaching than he is training.
He says he has a system, but he really doesn't. And
Yeah.
he also does, so selling with purpose. Yeah.
Mhm. So this is the curriculum.
Yeah.
I get people's philosophy. I move through the 5 stages of growth. We talk about their circle of competence, basically. So
Uh,
this would be your 3 uniques, right? So
Right. That's a
I've
good idea. Yeah.
I've called it the circle of competence even before EOS or the three.
Uh,
It's like they're
Okay.
the 3 things. So then I go through the psychology of sales, like
Uh-huh.
why people have a problem with it. I go through mentorship, what the difference between simple and then how to do your
Yep.
ideas and lead and lag indicators tracking. 10
Uh-huh.
things people want. If you read Chris Voss, this is what this is. It's behavior change stairway model. I love that. I
Yeah,
go
I got to read that
really
book.
deep into active listening because that is number one, right? Then we go into the 7-step sales process. It's very structured.
Nice.
This is my 7 steps, and
Yeah,
you
this
can,
guy is not structured at all. I can't stand.
yeah, yeah, prospecting, right?
Good. Yeah.
Target market, when, where, how, what.
Yep.
Need to know what's their worldview. Uh,
Yep. He does a lot on disc.
Yeah, and I do disc. I teach people how to sell via any. You give me a personality test, I can teach you how to sell via that personality test and what you are. So not only what the customer thinks or how they communicate, but how do you use what you do to communicate with them and get those styles
100%.
matched?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where
I love
you're a very detailed person. I'm a high D, high I, where I'm like, hey, everybody. And so it's not your job to, as a listener, as a client, to match my disc or personality. It's my job to adapt to yours. You're the
Right,
audience.
exactly. 100%.
So this is the high level. We go through demographic. I teach them, if they don't already know, how to identify those things, right? I teach people how to qualify. Once you get to this stage, you learn how to do qualification,
Hmm.
the difference between a need and a want, how to
Hmm.
maximize the Socratic method. That's everything that my whole philosophy is built on, is around the Socratic method, the question-based approach to problem solving. Here's an example. The reason I put this in, this is actually the breakout that I taught at the EOS conference last week. That's why I pulled it up for you,
Uh-huh.
because this is our profile. Of course, I don't use this in my
Uh-huh.
IP. This was specific to EOS implementers and EOS companies. So I was giving them an example of a needs assessment, because the client profile is only, all it is a needs assessment. It is a way to, in each one of these, if you, and I've done this with implementers where I break down the psychology of each line and why we're getting it and why it's important.
Yep,
So
that's great.
one of the things, what do you want from your business that is woefully missing is, and why do you want that?
It's beautiful.
So it's what do you want from your business? They will tell you their surface level answer, right?
Yeah,
And then you ask, why do you want that? And so I teach people how to ask that question and a series of follow-up questions to really get to the deep emotion of why they need this EOS thing.
beautiful.
And I do it right there. And honestly, right there is where 99% of my sales are made.
Really, that's great.
Oh, yes.
That's great. That's
Uh,
great.
I've, I've
You,
closed the last 11 out of 12 90s.
so are you teaching another EOS one? I should take yours. The problem is who's got 12 weeks?
We did an hour a week at 7 a.m. Eastern in the morning.
Oh, I could do 7 a.m.
And so there's some people who are 4 a.m. PST. And I'll tell you, I'm like, that's before everybody starts their day, 7 to 8 Eastern. And if you want to learn and you're on the West Coast, get your butt up and learn at 4 a.m. I don't
So
really,
I would do it. I
yeah.
would do it. Do you record them in case you miss some?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. They're all recorded.
So people could do it. Oh, the one thing you didn't have that this guy had that I thought was good, I'm sure it's in there somewhere,
Yeah.
is he describes you need a verbal business card. He calls it a
Okay.
verbal business card.
So verbal business.
Basically, it's your pitch. It's your one
Yeah.
minute pitch, which I think
Sure.
is so hard with EOS. I find it, I haven't nailed my one liner
Mm-hmm.
and my 1 minute business card, or what he calls your verbal business card. And he says, and I agree with him, that VTH is so dry. So he turns VTH into saying people are frustrated because everyone has a different vision. And like, he uses words like that with VTH. So he makes VTH more emotional instead of just so dry, which I think is a good idea.
The only reason it's dry is people don't know how to set it up.
Yeah, but yeah, maybe
Can I
that's
give
the
you an
issue.
example?
Yeah, I'd love it.
Okay.
I'd love it.
So I teach acronyms, okay, and I love acronyms. So I'm going to give you a couple. And you
Okay.
heard me say it the other day. I'm going to give you Ford. Remember that?
No, I didn't go to your session.
I said it in a big room. I think
Oh, I don't
you,
remember.
you were in the growing room or you were
Yeah,
in the maximizing room.
yeah.
I visited and I often will Dan Wallace. I don't know if you knew Dan Wallace is.
No.
Yeah, he's an old school expert. I love Dan Wallace, and he always wants me to go with him to the growing room because we just have a blast, like teaching
It's so
and
nice of you to do it.
yeah, and ribbing off of each other. And so I learned
It's
so
so
much
it's
from
so
Dan. Huh?
it's so nice of you to do it.
Well, thanks.
You're such a gift to the community. Yeah, so tell me Ford.
Thanks. Okay, so family, occupation, recreation, and dreams.
Okay.
So people, you want to get to know someone. You
Uh-huh.
talk about their family, their
Uh-huh.
occupation, their
Uh-huh.
recreation, and their dreams. Once you get to dreams,
Yeah.
you're setting up VTH for an entrepreneur. So I say,
Uh-huh.
dreams, what do you want? What? They tell you all the deep emotional meanings, all the things. So the business card even idea, and we call it an elevator pitch. I love the
Yeah.
business card, the verbal business
Verbal
card.
business card. Verbal business card.
I like that.
Yeah.
So most people puke VTH out onto people, and they don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, when I first heard it, I'm like, that's a great 3 uniques. What you do, how you set it up. But if you don't know how to set that up, it's weird, right? So I'll talk to somebody. So I go FOR for conversations. I don't get to dreams every time. That's a
Right.
heavy way to go. But man, if you talk to someone who is an entrepreneur and you talk about their family, their occupation, their recreation every time, you eventually will get to dreams. Because you'll build a relationship, your family, occupation, recreation, over and over. They get comfortable with you. Then you talk about their dreams when you're ready. And then once you get to there, I like DOS. Do you know DOS? DOS, Dangerous
No.
Opportunity. So Dan Sullivan has a book called the DOS, and he has an R factor question. So when they get to dreams and they tell me all their dreams, I say, Amy, we're sitting here a year from now having this conversation. And all the things that you told me about your dreams, we're sitting here a year from now. What must have happened between then and now for your personal life and your professional life to be a success?
Yeah, that's
Right. And
beautiful.
you're like, all the things. And I say, okay, what are the dangers that are going to keep you from that? What are the opportunities that you can execute on to achieve that? And what are your strengths that you have going for you that will help you execute that? And they say, da 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 da. And I say, hey, Amy, our company, EOS, what I do is help people with three things that will help you get what you just said every single time. And they are vision, traction, and healthy. And vision, getting all of your people on the same page, rowing in the right direction, where they are, where you are, where you're going, and how to get there. Once we have that vision, we are going to implement traction, which is a set of simple, timeless, practical tools and disciplines with accountability that helps you achieve and execute that vision. And then lastly, it's healthy, which is having all of your leadership team and everyone in your organization working together in a cohesive manner, having fun, getting things done, because rarely does any leadership team do that. And from there, as your leadership team goes the rest of your organization, Amy, does that resonate with you?
Yes, beautiful. That was amazing.
Yeah. So
That was amazing.
no one wants to hear your elevator pitch.
What?
No one wants to hear your elevator pitch. And honestly, no one, I like the virtual business card, but it still does the same thing as everybody else does. And no one wants to hear it. Does that make sense?
For sure. But what you just did, when you talk about Ford, I'm a dominant person.
Uh-huh.
You
Yeah,
get me. I'm like, I'm not interested in telling you about my family. Like,
that's fine.
what do you want?
So what you do is you start where that personality, if I say, hey, Amy, what do you do? And you say, what? You're a dominant
I said,
personality. You're going to be like, oh, I love to tell you what I do.
no, I'll be like, what do you do? What do you want? Like when I'm in my, not today, but when I was in my, do you know anything about what I did?
Mm-mm. We're going to get to it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But I had a very huge business. And when I was running it, I was super busy. I had no time. Everybody wanted something from me. I'd just be like, all right, what do you want? I don't need to tell you what I do. What do you got from, what do you want from me?
Nothing.
I'll tell you if I'm interested.
Here's what I would say. I'd go, I don't know anything from you. What do you mean? I would say, what do you mean?
Everybody wants something from me.
They do?
Back in those days, yeah.
I'd say
No, they
that
don't
seems,
want to talk to you. Okay,
well,
good. You don't do anything.
I'd say, Amy, that seems a bit hubris.
Yeah, because I was a buyer, but whatever.
I
I
know,
don't.
but see, like you have a setting in your mind of when and where I'm going to bring this stuff up. So the setting is, Amy, we're on a plane. We're
Right. I
sitting
got
in
time.
first class. And I'm like, hey, what do you do? As a matter of fact, most of the time, it's always something funny that I'm looking for that I can share a commonality with someone. Does that
Hmm.
make sense?
Yep.
So I'm constantly, and I don't know, I don't know if my brain's just like this, or I don't remember ever a time not being like this, but I'm sure I was trained well. And so when I'm sitting there, I'm very big into observing people and trying to find a connection with them because I love people.
You're an
Sitting,
I. You're an I.
oh,
That's so lucky.
100%. So it may be lucky. Maybe I decided to be an I, right? So when I'm sitting there, I'm observing, and I'm actually trying to find something that I can notice, that I can have what I used to call and still do with my friends a Me Too moment. I stop with
Love that.
the Me Too because the movement.
But it's a great point.
It's a Me Too moment.
It's that point of connection. Yeah.
I don't, as a sales rep, I never impose myself on you as a buyer. I'm always like, hey, and with my sales in the background, I've always never try to approach people with an agenda. It just, if you happen to be in my target market, we're going to find out. But calling you and being like, hey, you're a buyer, I want to talk to you about buying. You're going to be like, what do you want? That is the setup. And man, the other thing that I think about is I would never sell anything that is not a relational sale.
I'm big on that. I'm big on relationship, not transaction.
Yeah. I'm not going to sell these microphones.
Yeah, for sure. It's a relationship business. Yeah. I believe it's a relation. I need your sales course. When can I sign up?
Yeah. You can sign up for the release of it. We'll send you the link.
Well, I'd rather do the one you're doing. Will you do another group of EOSIs?
If they appear, yes. I'm not actively seeking it.
I gotta pull it together.
Yeah. You got to pull it together. And so $3,000 for how long? What did he? Is this flat $3,000?
No, you paid it over time. The money wasn't the issue. It was.
I know it wasn't.
It was paid over time, but for other people that was an issue. So he paid it. I think it was $3,000. I could go back and look, but I think there were 6 of us. How much would you need? What do you need?
I charged 6 of them, and I just charged them $500 a piece. It was the same $3,000. I just trained them as a group.
$100 a session.
I told them $500 a month until they no longer wanted to. Now we had to stop it in December and January because my 2-day annual is
right. It's annual season.
Yeah. And so we may or may not reconvene. I gave them the choice. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm doing it really as a help first, but I need to get paid. You're right. That's just the way it goes.
Totally. So were you $500 a month then? Sessions? That's a much better deal.
Somebody told me, they're like, that's very cheap. And I'm like, yeah. $500 a session. And it's just like my EOS practice. You don't have to stay. There's no any kind of.
So it's $500 per person
per session. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll talk to people and see if they want to do it. I'll get back. By the way, I just want to share one more thing I learned from this exchange group that I'm in, which I think is very powerful.
Yeah.
It's all about questions, just like you said, and questions can change your past. They could change your future. But what they do is they break it into 5 or 6 different types of questions, which for me has been very helpful in my head. So they have purpose questions. They have forward-facing questions. The question you asked would be a future-based question. That Dan Sullivan question would be a future-based question. They have whatever it is. I'm happy to share it with you, but I found that categorizing of questions to be extremely helpful for me to remember, okay, I want to do a purpose question here. I want to do a future question here. So it's been interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was helpful. It's helpful to categorize.
They probably have discovery questions.
I'd have to, I'm in the middle of it.
Yeah, share it with me. I'll look at it and see it. I love it. Yeah. That's why I go from forward I teach them to go from forward to DOS to VTH. And if you do that, you'll have more robust and rich conversations and use your directness. It's easier to teach someone like you, by the way, who's not afraid to say or offend. Like a while ago, you're like, what do you want? And I'm like, maybe. and I'm the same way. I just do it with a smile. I don't know if you do that, but I'm
Depends
always
on my
smiling.
mood.
Yeah. Are you a DI or a DC?
I'm a DC.
Yeah, I thought so. So that's why you don't want all the small talk.
I hate small talk.
So for you, I'd say, hey, I got 5 things that will help you immediately. When would you have 30 minutes?
And what would your 5 things be?
Oh, the 5 foundational tools. Like the DC. What do you mean you got 5 things that help me immediately? I'm like, yeah, let's invest 30 minutes.
Let me know when you got. That's what I should say.
Yeah, because you're not going to let me get to your team until I can give you all the information.
Right. And this sales guy would say, you don't even what you sell. You got to sell the owner first anyway.
Oh, I believe that too. There's some things that we're teaching in 421 that I'm like, maybe. But I'm not going to do that. Just like in the 90, I can tell you right now in the 90, I never do about us first. Never. I never have and I never will.
I think that about us is the worst. I changed it to what the heck is EOS? So I usually do a slideshow and I just start out, what the heck is EOS? Because nobody knows what it is. And then I say it's supported by a library of books and I show a whole bunch of pictures of books. and to make us like give us credibility. But no,
Mhm.
that's how I do it. Nobody gives a shit about Gino Wickman being 23 years old and turn around the family business.
Yes, yes, they don't even care anymore, and anymore respectfully, they don't even care who he is.
I know. Yeah, it's just such a bad way to start the pitch.
I tell people they don't know who you are. They don't care who you are. They don't even care about EOS. They care about
I do think they care if we I do think they care if we have credibility.
of course, but if you didn't already have some level of credibility, you wouldn't even be in the 90. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think it's helpful. Like I tried it without talking about my 1 minute story.
You do
So
you need no, that's not what I'm saying. You need to do the about me, about
yeah.
us. It just shouldn't go first.
Where do you think you do it?
Second,
After what?
after
About you.
about them.
About you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about Amy and her team. So people don't care how much
Till they know how much you care.
about.
Them.
Perfect. See, you have to add the about them. Zig Ziglar did that. And I was like, yes, beautiful. So I would never, I love how you started this conversation. You forced me to talk about me. And I'm like, no, that's not what I want to do here, Amy. I'm not used to that. Right. I love it. It just
Because I read Dale Carnegie How to Win Friends and Influence People when I was 15.
100%. That's how Zig got his stuff. He was a Dale Carnegie trainer. And now here I am.
Right.
So people, you have to start with about, and I'm really going to bring this up in EOS and say, we need to change this so bad. I'll do 25, 30 minutes about them
Yeah, it's the most
because
important part because people
this,
want the most important that one of the like biggest ahas I had, and I'm sure I read it in one of those books, was when two people have a conversation, if one person does all the talking, they walk away and say, that was a great conversation. And the other person will say, like people are so off. And so that guided a lot of my life.
my son 18, I'm like, man, if you want to get the woman you want, you take her to
Just shut
dinner
up.
and you talk about her, you ask her all the questions, man.
It's
And
completely true. Yeah, I'll
for
bring that
like,
up in this interview. You
yeah,
gave
for
you
like,
gave me two things to talk about.
yeah, for 3 dates. And then she'll be like, what about you? But
Right.
by then she will be so infatuated with you, you can't screw it up because you have made her the center of attention.